your doctor knows what trend, EQ, Winnie, all that stuff. No, they don't learn any of that stuff. So why would they know that stuff? Yeah, they're not going to know that stuff. What's up, John? Can you hear me? I'm having trouble with my audio on here. Yeah, you can hear me now. Cool, cool. I'm also answering some questions from good old TikTok, which there's a lot of silly questions from there now. But I was talking about blood pressure medicines. A lot of people, obviously get high blood pressure. A lot of people think, when they're young, they don't need to worry about it, but you do. High blood pressure will destroy your kidneys. Kidney damage lead eventually kidney failure. Stroke, you can stroke at any age. You don't have to be like, you hear like 40-year-olds or 50-year-olds having strokes. You can be any age and have a stroke. So keeping your blood pressure in a healthy range. Every bodybuilder should, or a person taking PDs, they should have a blood pressure cuff. And usually people should have, like, I did it when I was competing. I had a blood pressure cuff, but I didn't have a blood sugar monitor. I didn't check my blood sugar to see if what your insulin levels are at, and I mean your blood sugar levels. This guy's asking about people are taking peptides to make their face lean. I'm assuming you're talking about like the GLP-1s. Semaglutide, retatrutide. Red is probably the most popular one because certain bodybuilders are taking it and they're telling everybody's like, oh yeah, red is the goat. It's the best thing. Can it help certain people? Yeah. Do I think it has a place in bodybuilding? I really don't. As bodybuilders, you want to eat a lot of food and your body needs a lot of food. Usually every several hours, you at least want, like 30, 60, it depends how big you are, 30 to 60 or 70 grams of protein. Each meal, you want some carbohydrates if your metabolism is fast, 50 carbohydrates, maybe like 10 to 20 grams of fat with each meal. That's what everybody should be pretty much eating. Everybody's a little different, so yeah. John, Armon, what do you consider high? Blood pressure. That's fine, man. Yeah. You could, there's charts you can pull up that tells you like pre-hypertension. And when you check your blood pressure, the problem is with bodybuilders, those cuffs are too small. Like, so when I go to the doctor, the cuff, it usually don't fit around my arm. Some of them, because they get so many obese people, they have the really big cuffs. But then sometimes it's like, does it read your blood pressure right? Because, think about that huge arm. People, to get a right read. So sometimes people use the wrist one. Your blood pressure you can take, and you can take like 5 minutes later, and it can be totally different. So you got to understand that too. So about with all the taking the peptides like the retatrutide and the semaglutide, the GLP-1s, people is just raving about them. People are usually selling them when they're raving about them, but it's like one of the biggest money makers in big pharma right now. That's why they're going after all these compounding pharmacies and people selling peptides online. So, but what it does, okay, so when you eat your food will just literally sit in your stomach longer, so you don't get hungry, so you're full. So when you reduce your calories and the amount of food you're eating on a contest prep diet, usually you're like, oh my gosh, if you've ever done a diet or a contest diet, you're starving like all the time. Or once it gets towards the end, most of my clients, they don't starve because I feed my clients a lot of food. That goes back to like, as a bodybuilder, you want to be able to eat a lot of food. And what I don't like about the GLP-1s is it slows down everything. So that's why a lot of people get constipation, digestion. I had this one girl, she came to me, she was already on it. She just felt horrible all the time. She couldn't go to the bathroom. She couldn't, eat any food. She just felt terrible. I said, come off of it. And her other doctor was saying, oh, we'll just do, I'm like, come off. She comes off literally like the next week, she feels like night and day difference. Okay. So a lot of people get constipated on it. Um, so you gotta be careful. I think it has a time and place like for obese people, but the problem is people don't get enough protein in, especially the obese people. They'll lose a ton of weight. That's why they call it like Ozempic face. And then their face will look bad because they lose so much weight on their face too. And you got to remember, you got muscle everywhere. You got muscle on your head, you got muscle on your face. I mean, if I'm dieting, and when I used to diet like for shows, or if I diet like for a photo shoot I did like last year, I mean, my hat size will get smaller. Everything gets smaller. Your hands, you lose fat and water everywhere. So, about the peptides making your face lean, I'm not sure. People are obsessed with having their face lean now. There's so many bodybuilders that they want to know a lot. These are the most common questions I get asked all the time. What can I take to make me taller? So many younger kids, they want to get taller. When I was younger, I never cared about like, oh, I want to be this height. I just cared about muscle. But people were like, can I take growth hormone and get taller? Can your product Ceromax, which is right here, pure MK, can that make you taller? And the answer is yes, it can if your growth plates aren't shut. Is it going to happen overnight? No, it takes usually months, 6 months at least, something like that to get growth. But you can grow. Your hands can grow. Your feet can grow. I've had a lot of my friends that their feet and hands grow a lot. If your growth plates are already shut, then you see a lot of bodybuilders, they like night and day. Of course, as you get older, like certain things like grow, like your head can grow, your nose, your ears, but it happens at a much faster rate when people are taking really high amounts of growth hormone. Uh, a competitive bodybuilder with what, John? And then, but going back to the peptides, most peptides are overrated, in my opinion. Great peptides are like IGF-1. Most people getting IGF-1, especially on these research sites, it's not real IGF you're taking. So just know that you're not getting real IGF for like 70 or $80 on these websites. IGF is good. I do like the healing peptides like the BPC 157, the TB 500. Those are really, really good for healing your body. I use that on my right shoulder all the time since I have a partial tear on my right shoulder. I had surgery on my left shoulder, but I have two surgeries. But on my right shoulder, I've had a partial tear there since 2015. So it does actually help. All the growth hormone peptides, I'm not a huge fan of because just take growth hormone. It's way better. I even have experimented with peptides, like taking 4 or 5 different growth hormone peptides, where it be CJC, Frag, whatever, and like for 12 weeks, I took a lot of them. I barely noticed anything. One IU of GH was way stronger than all those GH peptides together. So, and I could make money selling coupon codes and all that stuff like a lot of people do. You can make a lot of money, but I don't do that because it's not honest to me. And you have a lot of people bringing certain other things into bodybuilding too that has no business in bodybuilding, especially like kratom that has no business in bodybuilding. To hand them out goodie bags at shows, that's absolutely nuts. So, all right, I'm reading my TikTok questions too and answering them. It said lagged for a while. I wish I had the issue of being big arms. I hear you. How did you handle anxiety on your cycle? I did get anxiety on certain compounds, usually Trin or high test or like Anadrol, D-ball, stuff like that. So I just stayed away from those compounds. I mean, certain things on paper, you could like, okay, this looks great to take, but it can actually like harm you. So what's the point of taking a certain compound if mentally you're not okay, you're not sleeping well, your digestion is off, your anxiety is really bad. But usually tren is really bad for your anxiety. I heard people start saying like EQ gave them horrible anxiety. Listen, EQ was probably one of my favorite compounds to use. Like test and EQ was literally pretty much what I used every off season. Never had an issue with EQ. No one ever used to say, "Oh my gosh, I've got anxiety from EQ." No one started saying that until like recently, and it was like younger kids, like, "Oh my gosh, EQ gives me anxiety." We never heard that. We never felt that. But then all of a sudden, one person says it, and then everybody's saying it now because they're thinking to themselves, "Oh, I think I have anxiety because it's probably the equipoise I'm taking." And so a lot of things, kind of start like that. But equipoise is a great compound. A lot of people aren't fans of it because you don't get like fast gains right away. It takes about 5 weeks to kick in, and when it kicks in, you should stay on it for a while. EQ is one of those compounds that you want to run for a while, not like 6 or 8 weeks, much longer than that. Some people take it for 8 weeks. As soon as it starts like really working, then you come off of it. Doesn't really make sense. So some dark humor. You're an anaconda with the crazy mountains we are carrying along signs and yeah. Well, I'm in Texas, so if you carry here, people aren't like, "Oh my gosh, it's normal." So, oh, the GLP ones, John, yeah, they're taking them, man. A lot of them are taking them. I had a client not too long ago come to me. He was on it. This client, I'll eventually tell a story about because this client is one of those clients from. Hey, you got to be careful what you say on TikTok. So I'm answering some TikTok questions too, but some of those like nightmare, demon, devil client, whatever you want to call them. Like I got one of those lately, and it was a classic physique guy, and he competes at a high level. He's just getting into it, but he won't make it just because mentally he's not okay at all. I'll eventually tell about him because he didn't pay me what he owed me in the contract for coaching him. So a lot of people do that. Like the guys that compete at a higher level, that's why I don't prep a lot of those guys anymore because they try to get everything for free, and they expect a lot of things for free because some people do good guys that are coming up in the industry a lot of things for free. So they're used to that. Then it's not like a normal expectation. You go around in life expecting things for free. That's not a good trait to have, anyways. So many people rip other people off. If you talk to any like top coach that's been coaching for like at least 10, 15, 20, whatever years, they'll tell you numerous stories about how they helped a certain client and the client, screwed them over somehow, whether it be not paying them or not giving them credit or just something. You deal with a lot of different personalities and you get a lot of scary people too. I've got some prep clients before that I had to literally block them and it got bad. But it is what it is. It's part of it. 50 rep sets, thoughts. I like crazy high rep sets. Used to on like the vertical leg press a lot. I would do my first set would be like 2 plates on each side, and I would do 100 reps. Then I would go to 50, then 30, then 20, then 10, 10. So go high reps. I like high reps, especially like on legs and even arms sometimes. These are good sessions with your community. Appreciate that. Guys on YouTube, we're answering some TikTok questions on here. So I might as well do both, right? And guys, if people ask me about products or coaching, link is in the bio on my TikTok, on my website. It's in the bio here. It's just armonadibi.com. All our products are on there. All our AMG new products are on there. I'll go over them. We got our Convey. This is like natural insulin, so it lowers your blood sugar. It lowers your blood sugar and it shuttles carbohydrates to the muscles instead of being stored as fat. So when we made our GDA, our Convey, there's other products out there like popular ones like Slin, whatever. We looked at all the GDAs that were on the market. I was going to make a GDA when I came out with my Ceromax, like 10 years ago, but nobody knew what GDA was then. I'm like, nobody's going to buy a GDA. So even now that we made a GDA, people still don't know what they are. So I waited a while. So basically, it's great if you're taking any type of things for growth hormone, synthetic growth hormone, Ceromax like our MK677 we sell, because it raises your blood sugar and this lowers your blood sugar. So EPC, TB has been a godsend. We were talking about that earlier. Got a lot of comments. I don't know why my TikTok keeps pausing. Struggle with appetite. Is IGF better than HGH? No, I would pick HGH. HGH raises your IGF level one levels. So does MK677, our Ceromax we sell. So Anavar tests for beginner. If you're a beginner, I would just do tests. Do the testosterone and then add the Anavar in maybe like on your next cycle. Tests will do a lot. My first cycle was testosterone and I blew up. There's no point in just throwing like a couple things or numerous things in there your first cycle. What if you struggle with very high appetite? For the GLP-1s, those help people that do struggle with very high appetite. So I'm mostly against them, but if there's someone that just has a ravenous appetite and they're never like, you can feed them a bunch of their diet food too, maybe that's okay. I just don't like how it's just everybody thinks they need to take a GLP-1 now, like semaglutide or retatrutide. Everybody literally thinks they need to take one now, and they don't. You need to be able to eat a lot in bodybuilding. So if you guys ask the question on TikTok, I didn't answer, just ask it again. It just keeps going down to the bottom and missing questions. What doses recommend the Ceromax dominate? The Ceromax is 25 milligrams. Research that right before bed. The dominate 4 capsules any time of day, doesn't matter. So Swiss Kim's a good source. I'm not going to get into them just because I made videos a long time about them. I'll just say this, like, we've got a lot of other people for our MK, but try out whatever place, you think. I've made older videos about them a long time ago. I promised I wouldn't make any more videos about them or talk about what I think about. I'll just leave it at that. But so you're trying to stop gaining weight and build legs, but have a chest port for chemo. Should I keep focused on machines with legs and avoid upper body until cleared? I mean, yeah, dude, if you have a port in, don't. Yeah, you don't want to have issues with that. Still do something to keep your body. Do what you can. Listen to what the doctors say. Don't go against it to like mess up your port. And chemo sucks, man. I've had a lot of friends go through cancer. And my mom passed away from cancer at an early age in 2014. So I understand that completely. So we sell MK, brother, on TikTok. We've been selling MK for 10 years now. This is our MK, Ceromax, link in the bio. I've talked about it on here. I've made so many videos on here. I don't like to keep making them because I talk about it too much, I think. I'm not one of those guys. I hate people that are just like, they push stuff down your throat to buy. Like, yeah, these are my supplements. We sell them and stuff. So that's MK, I recommend. I know what's in it. I know who the manufacturer. It's been the same manufacturer for the last 10 years. We make supplements and we make that. We don't make these research chems like other companies do. They make all these other research chems. And a lot of times someone will be taking what they think is MK677, and there's something else in there like a pro hormone or a SARM, and that's not good. Michael Wright, increased cardio ideas. I don't know if you should, but if you're doing chemo and you're not getting enough, you're trying to stop gait weight. I don't know. You need to listen to your doctor, brother, because getting chemo is really hard on your body. I would be focused on eating like good, healthy foods. BBC and TB 500, they're great. I was talking about that earlier about my shoulder tear. What boosts your appetite? Yeah, Ceromax does. MK677 does. But yeah, BPC, TB, those are great peptides. Like those are peptides like I take myself, and I think they're good. I take it in my shoulder usually. They're good for like tendonitis stuff. A lot of people ask, are they good for like back problems? Like I have back problems. Not really for back problems. They work really well with like tendonitis type stuff. So you have a high labral tear right now. What would you recommend you do? Hip labral. Well, I'm assuming you got an MRI. At some point, if it's bad enough, you're going to need surgery. The thing with the labral tear, whether it's in your hip or your shoulder, it's like a ball and socket, right? So if your cartilage tears, like it's not going to heal on its own, it's not going to get better, and that gets loose. And then other body parts stop. Like I have a client right now. She just had a hip surgery, and she had problems with other body parts. Her back was messed up all the time because of that hip. So you probably eventually need to get surgery if you have a labral tear because it's not going to get any better. So does Ceromax help in loose skin? It can, yeah. Yeah. And growth hormone does make your skin healthier. So yeah, partially torn. It's not going to be fully torn. You wouldn't be able to function. So, like, I had a partial tear in my left labrum. They did 2 surgeries on my shoulder. The first one, they did my rotator cuff. They did not fix my labrum. That was a mistake by the doctor because he thought it was torn inside, but it wasn't seen on the MRI. So, when he was inside my shoulder, he opted not to fix that. After that, he told me that. And that's what kind of like ended my bodybuilding career earlier because I had to have back-to-back shoulder surgeries and I was out 2 years of upper body training. And then I just watched all the people I competed against just pass me by. So would you recommend taking an astrazole with CJC? No, CJC is not going to increase your estrogen. We were talking about peptides earlier, the growth hormone peptides like CJC, ipromolin, frag, HGH frag, all that stuff is very, very extremely weak compared to just plain growth hormone. Or I tell people, if you're going to, instead of taking all those growth hormone peptides, just take something stronger like MK677, like our Ceromax we make. Link is in the bio. You go on our website, you'll find it, Ceromax. That's stronger than all the peptides out there for growth hormone. I just got on Ceramolin 10 days, then moved to Testosterone for 45 days. Sip thoughts. Yeah, you're using a doctor. Greg, like I keep saying, brother, those peptides, if you just get on MK677, it's going to be stronger. It's going to be for your growth hormone, your gains, the way you feel, and everything. So I wouldn't waste money on those. Get you MK7677. We've been selling ours for 10 years called Ceromax. Link is in the bio. You can get on our website. Ours is trusted. We've been selling it a long time, and we don't make like other stuff like, most places you can get that at. So that's why we're so trusted. You can go on our website, all the reviews on there, and hear about all those reviews too. So when getting on gear, is it best to start off test at a low dose, like at 80 milligrams per week, and titrate up? Yeah, 80 is a little low. So if you're going to do it for a cycle, I would probably go a little higher than 80. If you're doing like a TRT dose, like if your testosterone's low, if you're older, that could help you enough. Usually not. I would probably I started with 200 milligrams of test a week. I think that's a great number for like a testosterone cycle to start. Yes, Ceromax does help with healing for research purposes. Yes. So guys, on YouTube, we are doing some TikTok questions. I get a lot of questions on TikTok that I don't get to answer a lot. So I'm doing a live one here so I can maybe share some information on here. That might be helpful too. And of course, YouTube will, every Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 Central, we do our podcast, Iron OGs, with King Kamali and myself. This week, we're having a great bodybuilder. His name is Ali. He lives in Dubai. He's a monster. Yeah, I haven't seen him got much coverage yet, but he's going to be. He can be like the next really big something. Um, so happy you're doing live finally, Cody. I didn't do lives on TikTok for like a long time, for probably like close to a year. I didn't do them much, and I've been trying to get on a little more lately and get in the groove again of doing them. So you're welcome. The AMG Labs site is for AMG Labs. The Ceromax is a DB Army. The DB Army we've been selling for 10 years. AMG Lab is a different supplement brand. So, do you work with an HRT clinic or can point me to one? Yeah. I always tell people if you need a good TRT clinic, message me on my IG in the bio. Because when I give out the link on here, it messes with my algorithm strike sometimes. So for TikTokers, I'm talking to YouTube also. This person said about Merrick Health. No, I wouldn't use Merrick. Send me a link on IG. Just say, hey, can I please get the HRT clinic? I'll send you the link. You fill out a form. It's like takes you like 2 minutes, and they will take care of you. They're awesome. They can prescribe testosterone and various other compounds. Your testosterone does not have to be already low for them to prescribe you testosterone. I know some clinics will be like, oh, we need to see your testosterone low to justify it. That makes no sense. Why would you? Okay, you go to a doctor to get on TRT, and let's say you're taking testosterone already, but you want to do it like the legit way. And the doctor says, oh, well, we need you to stop feeling good first. So get off the testosterone, let your testosterone levels dip so I can make it, I can document this because they think they need to document it. And it used to be that way maybe a long time ago, but not anymore. So the TRT clinic that I work with, they can do that, and they can prescribe various other compounds too. I've been working with them for about 3 years, sending people to them. I use them too for my hormones, and they're awesome. I haven't had any issues in 3 years, and that says a lot because I've worked with other other hormone clinics in the past, and most of the experiences haven't been too great, or it's been good for a little bit and it's got bad. I've been consistent with this company for about 3 years now. It's been really good. So yeah. Uh yeah, you're saying you haven't seen me on your FYP. If I make videos on TikTok, normal videos, for some reason the past few months they haven't been going. I still make them every couple days. They're just not showing up on on the feed. So it happens all the time on TikTok. You get shadow banned for months, and then it'll come back eventually. Then months and comes back eventually. That's a glitch on the platform. It happens to a lot of people. So if I make a video, let's say if it usually gets like 200,000 views, 400,000 views, whatever, at the worst, maybe 30,000 views. Now it's getting like a few thousand or 10,000 or 5,000 or sometimes 3,000. So they're still coming in. You just have to go to my page. They're just not coming through your feed, which it's a bummer, but it is what it is. That's why TikTok is really frustrating. That's why I'm doing the lives now, because people have told me it shows when you get on your live. It doesn't show when you post your videos in the profile anymore. So guys, I've talked about gear sources before. People always ask, what's the best gear source? You guys, that's first of all, that's illegal to do that. Let's say like you go to a coach and they're giving out a gear source. That's called aiding and abetting. The gear, that's illegal. You can look that up. That's why no top coach is going to give out a gear source to people, because even if, like, let's say there is a good gear source, and I said, okay, go to whatevergear.com, some website or some source. Let's say their gear is good. You're getting it for a couple months, and then out of the blue, you don't get a package, or they start underdosing it, or they start faking it. And then you're going to come back to me and like, man, I thought that place was good. I did that a long time ago in my early days of coaching, and that's why I stopped doing that a long time ago. Plus, I learned out years ago that you can't do that anyways. It is technically illegal. Are they going to come after you for it? Like, we're coming to get you. You've been giving out sources for gear. Probably not, but it still is illegal. And I live my life completely legal now. I got enough trouble when I was younger. So Yeah. Usually, people, if you're looking for a source and you can't find one, you shouldn't be looking for a source. You can go to a HRT clinic, like the clinic I send people to. If you can't get if you can't get big off what they prescribe, there's a problem. They can prescribe you enough stuff to really help your life. You have to be over 25. They don't prescribe to people under 25, but you don't need to take these monstrous amounts of gear to get big. If you can't get big off just plain testosterone and eating, and of course I'm going to plug my product MK677, my Ceromax. If you Because you got a growth hormone, you got your testosterone, and then you got a lot of food. If you can't get big off doing that, there's a problem. No, all these other compounds aren't going to do much for you either. That's what people don't understand. They get fixated on one compound, whether it's like Primobolan. They're like, oh my gosh, I've got to get Primobolan. I heard it does this, and this one person or this influencer says it does this. Primo is a good compound. It's a weaker compound, but you get what I'm saying. People's like think, oh, this is what I need to take. This is what I need to take. And people that's always taking all these different compounds aren't doing the most important thing, is eating enough food. Like, you've got to worry about that. Every person I talk to, literally almost every person, they're taking their cycle, but they're not eating enough food, or they're not taking the right natural supplements. You know how important natural supplements are, and people's not taking hardly any of them. So, what made you more angry, aggressive, gear, or peptides? I guess neither. I wouldn't blame it on any compound. Angry with just dealing with dumb people in the past, probably. So it wasn't like a compound. Opiates made me in a good mood and gave me energy. It didn't make me like tired. It like when I took them before, that's what it did. So, um, am I a Nick Walker fan? I think he's a really, really hard worker, and he's a freaky bodybuilder, but his structure I just can't get on board with. I just do not like his structure at all. Even Branch Warren or Marcus Rule, they didn't have the best structures, but their structure was good enough. I just do not like Nick Walker's structure at all. I can't be a fan of that. That's just not bodybuilding to me. I'm just like a lot of people. I'm just not a fan of that. It's cool to see that muscle because he has a lot of muscle. And he's a freak and he's a hard worker. I'll give him that. But that his structure, I just can't. I'm just not a fan of it. Just personally, just the Ceramax Dominate stack. How long before I start seeing these supplements kick in? Usually the first month. Dominate definitely. Usually like the 4 or 5 week mark, you really start noticing it. With the Ceramax, it's pretty fast. So Ceramax kicks in pretty fast. You're going to start at first sleep better, appetite's good, and then around about the month mark too, you'll start getting fluid inside the muscle, so you're going to feel pumped up and bigger like in the first week. But those are things to stay on long term. You shouldn't just take them and get off because they're not something you need to cycle. They're not dangerous. They're not suppressing your natural hormones or anything. So you can stay on that Dominate and Ceramax stack year round. You'll love it too. Armon, why does Dave Plumbo look physically weird after gear and bodybuilding? But Dave actually answered that question before on a forum. He said he looked that way before he even took gear. So some people just have certain looks to them. Uh, Dave is Italian and whatever, but that's the way he looks. He looked like that when he was a sprinter, when he was like this big. He showed a picture before because someone asked that same question. He looked the exact same way before he even got into bodybuilding. So, but a lot of people do change their looks. I'm not even going to mention certain names because there's so many right now. Competitors look at their pictures like 5 years prior, and then now they look completely different in the face. Of course, you're going to look different when you're dieting and you're not dieting, but I'm talking about their whole bone structure, like literally changed. Yeah. Jake, and MK's link is in the bio. We have the Ceramax and the MK pills, And then we have the liquid also. The liquid, a lot of women like it because they can dose it lower. It tastes terrible. It tastes awful. I take the pills, but the liquid we do make because some women like to dose it lower. So, but yeah, it's good for injuries, for sleep, good for everything. If you go on my website in my bio, you can read literally all about it. Or if you just want to even Google MK677, the benefits can tell you all about it. There's a lot of benefits. It's basically the same thing as just taking growth hormone. So, someone answer Jake's question, please, because I keep answering it. Yeah, I would. There's certain sites I wouldn't trust. I just know too much about certain sites. So I'm not naming names, but do you think Samson is overrated? I've been seeing this all. Oh, I didn't mean to push that. Do you think Samson's overrated? I've been seeing this all over podcasts lately. Overrated because people are like comparing him to Ronnie. I think that's why. If you get compared to Ronnie, I mean, he's not Ronnie Coleman, right? But he's the big black bodybuilder right now that's like one of the best in the world, well, Mr. Olympia. And is he a great bodybuilder? Yeah, but he's got some stuff going on with him. He can't get that crispy, dry. I don't know if he'll ever get that. Some people's physiques, you got to understand certain people's physiques, especially a lot of black people, their skin is thicker. They can't get that dry, grainy look. So, hey, bro, Ceramax and testosterone is good. Yeah, Beast 3353. If you can't get big off that, there's a problem. That's all you need. That's all I've been literally taking for the past since I retired. I'll throw in some VAR here and there every once in a while, but that's it. I took a mini cycle last summer and I'm like, oh, I don't even want to do this. I did it for too many years. So, can working at hard at a young age change your overall structure, makeup? I wouldn't recommend working out too hard with weights, like too young, but like 14, 15 is a good time to start working out. I started around 15. I didn't know what I was doing back then, but I still worked out. Do you think Greg Valentino YouTube did synthol? No. He says he didn't. He would literally dump a whole bottle of test propionate and shoot in his biceps in a day. That is crazy. If I shot like 1 ml of test prop in my bicep, my arm's gonna like be really, really sore. So no. Greg didn't have to. He would literally empty bottles in his arms in a day. And you think about it, you put that much oil in your arm, it's going to cause a buildup in scar tissue. And you do it repetitively every few days. So no, I don't think I needed to use synthol. So Ceramax is MK677. His link is in the bio. How long does it take for the liver enzymes to return back to normal after your cycle? I usually have my clients get blood work about 6 to 8 weeks after their cycle or after their competition. That usually gives enough time for the body, like, whether it be cholesterol, liver, to go back to normal. Then when their blood's good again, then they can start back again. I usually have my clients stay off everything except maybe like a little bit of testosterone for at least 12 to 16 weeks. And that's what I always did too. After every show, I would take off 3 to 4 months off everything. I even took it off testosterone to a certain age. So, what's up, bro? 150 Trent Ace, 3 megs a test. Wins all day. The Romacin, but my nipples are burning every day. If I remove the test, will it help? I would get. Well, you're taking Trent Ace too. I would get blood work, man. That's a lot to be taking. So it could be your estrogen or prolactin. So I would be taking anti-estrogen, and I would be taking Caber for your prolactin levels. Does clinics take Medicaid? No. All the clinics are cash, out of pocket. Nothing, no insurance covers none of that. Do you think creatine is worth taking? Absolutely. I love creatine, and we sell 2 products with creatine in it. Our Intra Drive is our intra workout. You drink this while you're training. It has all your EAAs in it. It has betaine in it. It has glutamine in it, and it has 3 grams of creatine in 1 scoop. So if you do 2 scoops, that's 6 grams of creatine. You drink this while you're training. Sour apple. This tastes amazing. And then our pre-workout, our high stem pre-workout, which I don't like high stems at all, but this has creatine. It also pump products and very high stem stuff. This is a wicked force you can get on our site. This is very high stem, but it doesn't make you feel cracked out. It makes you feel like you're on something, but a real smooth feeling. But I don't like uppers at all. I'm not a fan of any uppers at all. Yeah, clinics can give anti-estrogens. Yeah. Brother, Batista is King Kamali's friend. So I think it would be hard just because Batista's under so many contracts right now, what he can and cannot do since he's doing the movies. He probably couldn't even come on a podcast. So a lot of times things are like that, certain contracts. Even when I was competing, I had when my contract, a couple contracts, I couldn't shoot with other magazines at a certain point when I was signed with that magazine. And it would suck because this other magazine was like, hey, we want to do a cover shot. And I was like, well, I can't because I'm with Muscle Mag and I have this contract. And if I did it, I'd get sued. So a lot of things people have to be careful what they sign, especially contract wise. But I was really happy with being with Muscle Mag. That was my favorite Muscle Mag growing up. RP Nipsey Hustle. Even if you're leveled, hormone clinics do not cover take insurance or take Medicaid. HRT clinics. Your doctor, that's a different story if they prescribe something. But HRT clinics do not take any of that. All right. What liver supplements do you recommend? Tutka's fine. Milk thistle used to be the most popular when I was competing. I never even took it. My liver enzymes never increased that much. If it did, it was only for a little bit because I would only use orals like the last 6 to 8 weeks before competition, and then I would get off of them. So my liver enzymes might dip up and they'd be right back down. So, but now I like Tutka. Tutka has other benefits too. So I've done Dominate and Ceramax stack before and loved it. Peaceful days. Keep doing it. There's no reason to come off those compounds or those products. You could take Dominate and Ceramax year round. It doesn't suppress anything. It doesn't mess with anything except it can raise your blood sugar. But like I said, if you're worried about your blood sugar with growth hormone or anything growth hormone related, peptides, Ceramax, you can take our Convey that lowers your blood sugars. This is the strongest GDA out there, and you can read all the ingredients on it. I was big into lifting. I was 5'9", 190, but hopped on opiates and trying to get tests back up. And clomiphene, yeah, opiates will destroy your testosterone levels. I wouldn't get on clomiphene. Or have you taken hormones before or no? And how old are you? Does creatine help with cramping? No. On creatine, you actually need to drink more water. So you need more water on creatine. How much a week does HRT clinics charge? All the clinics are different. It depends what bloods you order. It depends what hormones you take. If you're just taking testosterone, so like I said, if you need a good clinic, message me on my IG. I will send you the link. It's a very simple link. You just click on and you fill out like a 2-minute paper, and they will contact you and answer any of your questions about anything. So they're really good company. So thoughts on ginseng? I'm not on ginseng. I'm not a fan. It used to be really popular like 23, 30 years ago though. I was big into lifting, 5'9", 190, but hopped on opiates. I already saw that. But guys, yeah, I got a coaching story I'll eventually tell. It's a pretty entertaining story about a certain competitor that not only did he not pay a certain person, he did a lot of other crazy stuff too. And some people in the industry, their heads get so big, like they think they're untouchable for whatever reason, and it's all facade. Like this person online, it makes it looks like he has money, he's driving this car, and literally they have no money at all. So people are always looking at social media, and that gets them depressed because they're like, man, I wish I could live that life, or man, I wish I could do that. Man, this guy just chills at home all day and has this car and this house. Let me tell you, how many of those people will be at Airbnb for the weekend and play like it's their house? They'll go rent a car, play like it's their car, or I have a pretty cool car now. I work really hard, and I have a pretty cool car, and I'll have people sometimes, like almost every day, if I go to this restaurant over here and eat Texas Roadhouse, it's always crowded there, and people will always want to take like pictures of my car, or like with them, by the car, and they post it. It's like I would never go take a picture with a car that's not mine. I'm like, that's my car. I worked hard for it, and if I see some other car, uh, I'm just not into cars that much either. So yeah, so they do rentals. They make up stories. They lie about contracts. Listen, today most people, if they're getting sponsored by a supplement company, they're getting paid with supplements. AMG Lab. I did a couple athletes before with my DB Army line. It just didn't work out because people just don't work that hard, and they're not worth really giving what they're not. They don't usually do what they're supposed to do. But with the AMG labs, I'll help them eventually get athletes, and it's tricky when you pick an athlete. You can pick someone like, oh, they're going to be a great athlete and help your brand a lot, and then they are horrible. They sell no products. And I want someone to believe in the product. The worst thing is when I was competing, when I was with Diamondized, I loved all their products. They had great products, and I took all of them. That's before they sold the Post cereal. But when I was with Muscle Tech, they had the worst products ever. And then we couldn't say anything. We were under contract. So I always wanted to tell people, hey, uh, don't don't tell people you take this stuff. So yeah, you could take Convey alone. Convey, take it alone, will help shuttle the carbohydrates to the muscle instead of being stored as fat. So like if you eat a high carb meal, you can take Convey with it. So yes, you can take it alone. Yeah, start taking it. You don't need a growth hormone thing to take it with, but what state am I in? I'm in Dallas, Texas. Too many people are moving here. Do you think saffron extract really works to mitigate the negative androgenic effects of the liver? I don't know, but I do like saffron. I just started recently taking saffron. I would say 2 or 3 months ago, and I feel like it's helped me mentally a lot. So saffron is great for the brain, and a lot of people, they work on their body in bodybuilding, but they don't work on their brain. So that's when you get that typical whole bodybuilders are not too smart thing, because a lot of them are. They work out, eat, train, sleep, and they don't use their mind. They're not reading, they're not studying. So a lot of bodybuilders get that typical, and a lot, unfortunately, a lot of times it's true about certain bodybuilders. I'm not going to name any certain names about certain bodybuilders, but you could probably think of some on your own. But um, I always tell people that are bodybuilding, even my clients, get you don't have to go to college. That's the thing of the past. You used to have to go to college, but take some classes, whether it be on business or whatever. Learn something. Just don't bodybuild 24/7. I was going to talk about that earlier. That's not life. Just eating, sleeping, and training. That's really boring life. There's so much out there in the world to do. Travel, have fun. I'm not talking about getting in trouble or doing drugs or going out clubbing. All that stuff is not going to get you where in life. But use your brain, read, look up stuff. You don't know how many people ask me the same numerous question over and over and over. They could literally Google it and get a straight up answer. It's not like a complicated question. So I get asked a lot. Yeah, that's where the term meathead comes from. And most of actually the most of the top bodybuilders are actually smart people. Um, Usually the meathead part, like the bodybuilders or the bar guys, the typical bar guy that would go to the bar would be kind of juiced up and get in fights. That's what would give bodybuilders the bad name. And I used to have a lot of those that I would hang out as friends or we would go out. And they gave like real bodybuilders a bad name because they acted like fools. They were big and they would get in fights and act dumb. And they weren't even like actual good competitive bodybuilders. So guys, on TikTok, if I miss your question, just ask it again. Stuff's coming through. Yeah, the Trend Twins gimmick is stereotypical meathead. Hey, it's working for them now. Can they keep it up forever? No, it's not going to be cute in another few years. They already look a lot older than they actually are. They've aged a lot, but it's not going to be cute in another. You can't be the Trend Twins when you're 30 or 40. That's not going to be too cute. So they've got to. That will work for a little bit for them, and then you got to change up and rebrand yourself to stay relevant in bodybuilding. It takes a lot of work. So someone that's been in bodybuilding a long time, no matter what they do, whether it's been like me, I went from competing, then retired. Oh, I coached the whole time while I was competing. Then I started judging, and then just doing a lot of different things. You can still stay in the industry and stay relevant, but you don't have to compete. And a lot of people don't compete anymore just because they don't want to get on stage because they're scared. They don't love competing. We love competing. Back then, like when I was competing, there wasn't all this social media and it started coming out, but we didn't compete for that. We competed because we love bodybuilding. Like you have to love bodybuilding to be the best bodybuilder. So yes, I'll be doing after hours this weekend. Last weekend I had a horrible migraine. So when I get those, I can't do it. So does berberine affect muscle protein synthesis? No, you're fine. Am I a fan of D-ball? No, I'm not a fan of D-ball at all. I don't like D-ball. Puffs you up too much. It raises your blood pressure. It does make you strong. I think younger, like in your early 20s, you can take it and like you like it, but as you get older, it just makes you feel bad. And D-ball is awful for your appetite. Every time I would try D-ball, I couldn't eat. I would start D-ball and I would, after like a week, I would always quit because I couldn't eat my meals. I could eat maybe like 1 or 2 meals a day. I never was a big eater, anyways. I had to force feed myself like crazy. So I think the Trend Twins should focus on bodybuilding and powerlifting to stay relevant. Well, James, they don't have to. That's the thing. I mean, if they did have to, they did a bodybuilding show, right? Does anybody even know the bodybuilding show they did? No, I can't name the bodybuilding show they did. So that doesn't really matter. And I don't think they want to compete. They tried it and they saw how hard it was. It's very, very hard to compete and get all the way down. They weren't even conditioned enough to compete and get that gnarly conditioning. You've got to suffer, and not many people can do that. Not many people enjoy doing that. When I competed, I love the whole process. You've got to love it. So they don't love it. They like doing what they do now. Appreciate it. Yeah. So powerlifting, they're strong, but they're not that strong to be powerlifters. Bodybuilders, I mean, they could do okay in bodybuilding. They have a smaller structure, but you saw like they did one show, they weren't in condition. They both looked like they were 6 weeks out. So I guarantee you they were cheating on their diet. They're just not bodybuilders. You got the social influencers and you got like the true hardcore bodybuilders. And sometimes some of them mix. Like there's perfect examples of a few people that have mixed both of them and do really well. So uh, I don't know. No, I can't see your question. I can see your question now. Can you still see my question? But I don't know what your question is. FGE. I didn't see your original question. Do I have neck pain daily? Yeah, I've got herniated disc C4 to C7. So yeah, I've been dealing with that since actually before bodybuilding. From playing soccer, doing all the headers, all that on your neck is really bad for your neck. So I've been dealing with neck problems like nerve damage in my neck even before bodybuilding. So Any tips for dealing with insomnia while using PDs with supplements and such? Well, with certain compounds, especially tren, that is awful for your sleep. That wrecks your sleep. Other stuff, obviously Ceramax or MK makes you sleep really well. Tren at a lower dose, you don't have to take like 50 milligrams every other day. You don't have to take that much. Take a smaller dose and see how your body reacts to it. You're still going to get gains, and your sleep probably won't suffer as much. There's a lot of different supplements out there, natural supplements for sleep, stuff with melatonin and other things that kind of calm you down. But if you're taking that much stuff that you're having trouble sleeping and you're not competing, brother, I wouldn't take all that stuff. I would cut it down to a minimal. You can still make the same gains. In clomiphene to get test back up after stopping bodybuilding and taking opiates. I've taken stacks. FGE, it's probably not going to get you up much. If it does, when you get off of it just alone, it's not going to get you up high enough. So I would probably just get on TRT. I wouldn't go the clomiphene route. The doctor might try to get you to do that just for the money and how they prescribe stuff and all that. Ronnie or Kevin, Ronnie Coleman all day. I grew up watching Ronnie in the gym. That was my first gym I went into. Well, one of the first, Metroflex Arlington, when I was 15. So I grew up watching Ronnie. Like when I wanted to bodybuild, that's what I saw. I was like, okay, I want to bodybuild, and what is this alien over here? So I knew I could never be anything like that, but I knew I could do okay, like, and have a good physique. So Ronnie was just from another planet as soon as you saw him. Everybody knew that could be nothing like that. So what's the easy way to get my veggies in on the cut? Brother, I'm not a huge fan of veggies. So with most of my clients, I put like greens as optional. If they still eat their meal, they're still hungry, they can add greens to it. But most bodybuilders, we need protein, carbs, and fats. So I'm not a huge veggie fan. I really didn't eat much veggies at all. But if you think like you're missing out on getting your vegetables, you can always take like Juice Plus, the capsules with all the extract and stuff. So what's up, Armon? Enjoy the show. You and King should do an interview with Arash. He was legit back in the day. Yeah, I can message him. I haven't thought of him in a while. We've got a guy named Ali, big jack guy. He's a freak. He's supposed to come on Thursday. I always get nervous about interviews like in other countries because you got to get the times right and you hope they don't fall asleep or forget the times. So this Thursday we're supposed to have a guest. He's a freak. I've never heard him speak before. I just found out who he was not too long ago, but he's one of those guys in Dubai that's like a freak there. But if he can get over here and start competing regularly, he can do extremely well. And I don't know what his coaching situation is, but man, if I got a hold of someone like that to coach, I can make them like really, really good. A lot of these guys they don't have good coaches. They have coaches that are coaching them for free because a lot of them they don't have them. I'm not saying him. I'm saying a lot of people. Bodybuilders, they're broke. Unfortunately, they're broke. So there's a lot of coaches that will coach them for free, and that's what a lot of them do. And so you get what you pay for. Dawson, I can't see what you look like, brother. You're on my TikTok, and I can't even see the profiles. And I'm gonna do it my YouTube now too. You can always I do consults all the time. People want to get their physiques critique. You can go on my website and book those. How'd you keep your hair, dude? I had a transplant in Turkey 6 months ago, so it's still not even at full 100% yet. Which one of your supplements can I take for maximum fat loss to take with my morning cardio? Where is that demon at? It is called DNP Burn. It's actually not DNP. Right here, this will have you burning up on cardio. This is an insanely strong thermogenic, one of the strongest ones out there. This is one of our newer products. It's only been out like a month or maybe a little more. DNP Burn with your cardio. You're going to be sweating and burning like crazy on it. Yeah. Who do you got, Nick or Derek? Oh, I got Derek. He just has a prettier physique. Nick has made improvements, Honestly, I'm worried about Nick's health. I really am. I'm like, what is Nick? What kind of shape he's going to be in 5 years? When I say shape, I mean physical health in 5 years. I really am worried for Nick. I'm not just saying that to say that. How much was a hair transplant? I was blessed. They did it for free. I just had a collab with them, so they flew me and my wife over there, first class. It was awesome. Hotel, food, hair transplant, all for free. I just had to make a collab video with them and post some stuff on there. But usually in Turkey, for flight, hotel, hair transplant, everything, you're looking at around not much, maybe four, max $6,000. So it's not much. And they do a much better job than in the States. I know people that done it in the States spent 20, 30K and their hairs don't even stay. You do have to take off the gym about a month. You have to be very careful sleeping. You can't sleep down. You have to sleep like set up. So you do have to take care of it afterwards. It is a surgery. It's not something that's like, oh, my forehead was like swollen like all the way out to here for a couple weeks. Yeah, Nick's looked sick for years. He does look very unhealthy. You can look at somebody that's taken like a lot of stuff and in their face, they just don't look well, you know. As a post on IG, FGE, message me on IG. You can send me a personal message. I can send you their link and actually like a discount you can get with them too. Like if you end up using them, you can get a certain percentage off. Side effects of Seromax. So any growth hormone related is going to raise your blood sugars. That's not a problem. If you're eating clean, that shouldn't be raised that much. If you're eating like tons of sugars or tons and tons of carbs, sometime your blood sugar goes up. Why that's not good? Because you become diabetic, usually pre-diabetic. So what you can do, it's like natural insulin, is you can take Convey. It's the strongest GDA in the market. When we made our GDA, we only made it like less than a year ago. I looked at all the top GDAs on the market, and I made sure ours was going to be stronger than anybody's on there. So get that, my friend. Do you have any single moment that stand out in your competitive career, whether it was a blown peak or won the show? Brian, I never got to my prime, man. It was really disappointing but then it was a blessing in disguise. I've told the story many times. 2011 Nationals, I actually didn't get in trouble, but my house got raided 2 weeks out. I got my door kicked in. This was at my parents' house because I moved back in temporarily. Cops, 12 in there, all that stuff. It wasn't even something that was related to me. I was dating this girl. She made a fake profile on my computer of her sister, and there was a new law called internet impersonation. But I didn't tell anybody. I told like literally like one person, I think. And the judges found out in Miami the night before the show. We were on the rooftop. Hani was my coach at the time. Phil Heath was up there, and the Texas state chairman. And they're like, "You got this. Nobody's beating you at the show." And then I get like third call out the next morning, and Hani's like literally behind the judges, screaming, going nuts. I'm so confused. You know, Lee was like, he was a judge. He was like, I don't know. And so they found out I got in trouble. They heard it. I got busted for steroids 2 weeks out. At that point in time, they weren't going to give me my pro card because at that time, it's not like now, like pro cards are handed out like candy. When you got your pro card, there was only 8 men a year getting pro cards. So when you got your pro card, you got a fat contract. You got where you're like on every single magazine. Everybody knew who you were in the world, really, if they followed fitness. And so the judges told Hani that like a few weeks after the show. I never even told Hani. He had no clue why I placed like that. He was just like, I think someone paid off the judges for these people to get ahead, and that's why they put you back there. A few weeks later, he called me. He's like, "Hey, did you get busted?" I was like, "No," and I told him the story, and he was like, "Okay, well, let's do the USAs." They said, "Take care of your legal troubles. Come in the same look that you did." I was going to come even better, and then you'll get your pro card. Unfortunately, my shoulder was already torn at that show. I just didn't know it. I just thought I had like a mild injury, so I had to get my shoulder surgery, and that was a a career-ending surgery because he fixed my supraspinatus, and then on the MRI, he didn't see my labrum was torn. But once he got in my shoulder and was opened up, he saw my labrum was torn. So what do you do when someone labrum is torn? You fix it while you're in the shoulder. He opted not to fix it. And it took me a while to figure it out because he was a Texas Ranger surgeon. So in baseball, when you're throwing a baseball, you're flipping your arm back there. When you fix your labrum, when they get labral tears, it messes with your range of motion. So that's why they don't fix it in a lot of baseball players, because it ends their career. I'm not a baseball player. I don't need to get my arm back there. So my shoulder wasn't getting better. He was like, well, where the tear, he didn't fix it because he said where the labrum tear was at, it shouldn't have caused problems. And that made no sense. He made a mistake, and doctors will never say they made a mistake, obviously, because they don't do that. They can't make mistakes, and they say they don't. But there's so much medical malpractice every year. But anyways, that ended my bodybuilding career because I was out of upper body training for 2 years. We had to go back in and fix the labrum. I saw everybody that I was beating go right past me because I wasn't even training. Then in 2014, that was a rough year. My mom passed away, and I was like, I need to compete this year just to keep my mind busy because I was severely depressed. So I competed that year in 3 shows, and I just fell out of love with it. It wasn't the same. There was no more photo shoots. There was no more magazines. That's when the magazines went away. There was no more shoots you could make. After the show, I used to be able to do several shoots and at least make a very good chunk of change. That wasn't around anymore. Instagram just came out, and everything was like switching online. Even the muscle magazines, like Muscle Mag. I think I did my last shoot with them that year. They were freaking out because they were like, we don't know what we're going to do with the magazines. We're going to put everything online, but once something's online, then everybody's just going to copy it. So how's people going to buy the magazine online? So I knew that era was done. And then I watched my friends for years just chase this pro card that meant nothing, because once they started handing them out like crazy, it lost its value. Now it's just like a joke. I have a pro card. I have a pro card. Like everybody's a pro, right? So it lost its value. And then I retired after that. I was like, there's no point, to compete. So, Armon, what type of diet did Dave have you on for a recent show? Bro, I don't even want to talk about that. I was taking a certain medication that literally burned muscle and made the muscle relax. And I did a 3-week crash diet after I got back from Mexico trip that I already lost weight. And I wasn't even used to eating much. I just did it out of the blue. So I've actually burned a lot of muscle. I looked terrible. And then my back injury was so bad, I didn't even train. I did a 3-week diet. I didn't train for the first 2 weeks. I trained for the last week, just like to pump up stuff. And I did a show. I still won both classes, but I looked terrible. It was like nothing how I looked. And then afterwards, I put weight back on, and I looked a lot better. I did some video shoots for the product line. So you turned pro in 2022, and I guess it has no value. Yeah, I mean, talking about value, like you would be set and made money as a pro bodybuilder. When you turn pro, you got a big contract, a big supplement contract, and everybody in the world knew who you were. So it's just different now. Nothing happens now. Usually when people get the pro card now, it usually ends their career because they're not competitive enough to compete at a pro level. So it's different now. Your camera, let's see what's gonna say. With UGL gear, do you think synthetic carry oils or solvents can cause insomnia? Yeah, I mean it can. If they're using like the dirty or like not great carrier oils, it can affect all your organs and stuff. So yeah. Your camera and voice quality is great this time. I don't know. Sometimes you just have issues, and the internet can be fine. There's just issues with StreamYard. Sometimes that's what we use. And then when you're doing it with somebody like King Kamali, if he has a problem on his side or my side, we don't know sometimes. And, it just happens. So I'm glad that the mic and picture is better this time. It needs to stay that way, right? MPP versus Equipoise for bulking. They're both good. I'm not a fan of MPP because it kind of gives you deca MPP gives you like kind of like a depressed kind of blah feeling. So I don't like it. I like equipoise a lot better because it doesn't mess with your sex drive either. What do you think of Chris Aceto's son winning a natural pro card? um, well, he doesn't have a pro level physique. So used to the whole point of getting your pro card was you could, I mean, go compete at a pro level right away. So you didn't like we didn't want to like I didn't want to get my pro card back then until I was ready to compete at a pro level. Because when I was with the Diamond Ties, they were like talking about things went around a little different way back then. And I was like, no, I don't want to get my pro card now. I want to wait several years so I can get it and then step on stage right away on the pro stage. So you get a contract right away. I mean, the competition was harder and only the overall got the pro card. Yeah. So it's just different. When I say pro card doesn't have its meaning, I don't mean like that in a negative way towards people. I just mean like it it was like a magical time before when people would get it. Like I didn't even have it and I was doing more magazine work and had a better following than a lot of other like the top pros at the time. So it's how you marketed yourself anyways. So look at all the people now. All these guys are more popular than these top pros now. So it really doesn't matter now. It's just how you market yourself and what kind of following do you have. Some people follow people just because like for entertainment and other times and like people follow me for content, bodybuilding advice, a bunch of different stuff because I've done everything, competed, judged, coached, so I have a lot of information. And with my clients, it's not just like, hey, here's your diet and nutrition. I help them out with like everything, like other medical issues if their doctor's not addressing, or even sometime I'm the part-time counselor. Like I don't try to get in too deep to that. I do have a life coach buddy I send clients to if they're too kind of like, have a lot going on. They don't have to be crazy. A lot of people has a lot going on, and it's great for people sometimes to have someone to talk to that's not like a friend of theirs to get a non-biased opinion. So no, James, NPP can make you feel a little dumb while you're on it. Yeah. And that and trend can make you not so smart, and it does affect your work. When I was in school, I would take like MPP or like a trend, and it would mess with my schoolwork. So yeah, it's not. They mess with your mental state. I'm 44, started following bodybuilding in 99, used to take an issue of Flex or MD in the restroom and read it to cover. It's funny. I would have friends that were in jail. They served like unfortunately I had too many friends that served jail time. And or they would write, or some of my friends I'd be writing letters like, oh my gosh, dude, I was on the pot in jail and I like you popped up in a magazine because I guess the jail or prison they would get so much whatever magazines and they would see me. Because at one point I was like in every single magazine just because my ads with Muscle Tech and then Diamond Ties before that. And then I had a normal column in Muscle Mag. But yeah, I still have a lot of copies of the magazines I was in. I lost a lot of them, but I was gonna like get a lot of them printed out and like put it on the wall or something, but whatever. EQ dosing. A lot of people think you have to do a really high dose of EQ. Usually when you get EQ now, it's like 200 milligrams or 300 milligrams of ml, right? When we would take the EQ, we used to get the big bottles from the veterinarian. They were 50 milligrams per ml only. They would be like 50 ml jugs. And then I would just take 3 mLs a week of that. That was only 150 milligrams of EQ. Later on, I upped the dose. I doubled it, of course, to 300 milligrams a week, but that's all. Now I hear people taking like a gram EQ a week, and that's crazy to me. That's a lot. Do you think some pros win because of their following as well? Okay, so when you compete now, um, when you fill out a form, whatever for nationals, usually they'll ask you for your social media handle also. So yes, look at some competitors lately that have won that have had huge followings. They made sure they did the right shows so they weren't going to get beat. I'm not going to call out anybody right now, but we know who certain people are. But yeah, of course it helps. Think about it. If I have a league and this one person has 5 million followers and this other person has like a couple thousand followers, this person with a couple thousand followers is better than the person with a couple million followers, several million. But in a competition, if the one with the millions win, they're going to be like the next pro or the first place guy. They're going to get more attention. So unfortunately, that stuff happens. But political stuff was happening way worse when I was competing. I even wrote a book called Geared Up. It's somewhere around here, right here. I wrote, this has all my cycles I ever did in here. Then I have pictures of all like different years I competed. Then I have some crazy corrupt stories in here about judging, about them soliciting for money or sexual favors or all that. That it was really bad back then. And we couldn't say anything or we would just get blackballed. So I was one of those guys that's like, I'm not doing anything messed up. I'm going to get mine fair and square and just be so much better than everybody else. But there was a lot of dirty stuff going on back then. But we couldn't say anything. Like I said, we would got blackballed. Now they've cleaned it up a lot because they had a lot of people at different levels, like state chairmen, promoters doing really messed up stuff. I could get into stories another day. You know, me and King Kamali can go over and talk about like stories in the industry. A lot of messed up stuff happened. And a lot of times we couldn't say anything. Like I said, they'd be like, okay, you're out of the league. You're not competing anymore. So it is what it is. Bro, what do you think about vitamin B6, PSP for lowering prolactin and Caber? I don't want to withdraw systems from Caber. You're not going to get withdrawal systems from Caber, brother. I've taken Caber numerous times. You're not going to get withdrawal systems from Caber. How much do you think sleep affects hypertrophy? Arnold said in interviews that he only needed 6 hours of sleep a night. Coleman said, okay, 6 hours is a good amount of sleep. I sleep literally probably 3 hours, 4 hours a night right now, just because my son does not sleep. Like he's like up all throughout the night. He's not a baby anymore. He's 6 years old, but he just scared of the dark and all that. So when I'm sleeping more, I definitely notice my face and body just looks better. Like, you know, sleep is very important for growing. 6 hours is enough. They used to say 8. I think you're good with 6. If you're like getting like 3 over and over and over again, you start to not feel that great. But I'm kind of like been doing that for years. I'll get a good 8 hours every blue moon, but I'm just used to it now. And certain people, your body is good at adapting to certain things. And so, yeah, it does affect your growth though. You need to be your rest and sleep to function, to be mentally good and everything. When I get more sleep, I feel a lot more sharper too. So, hey man, I have a really important question. My rotator cuff is torn and don't heal in 6 years. You gotta get surgery, brother. Yeah. I don't know if you got an MRI or not, but yeah, it's not going to heal on its own most of the time. Anyways, it's torn. You can do stuff like PRP and stem cell to kind of help regenerate it if it's a very small tear, but it's time to have surgery. And, you know, that's why health insurance is so important, especially for competitive bodybuilders. But for lifting too, I think everybody should have insurance. It sucks because insurance is expensive. Like we have private insurance and I pay a lot for our family with insurance, but you know, if something happens, you have access to the best doctors and everything. So 6 years, brother, and your shoulder's still not better, you probably need shoulder surgery. Like you said, it's been 6 years. It's not going to heal out of the blue, man. You probably have to, yeah. I just watched Magazine Dreams last week or the week before, actually. It was depressing, of course. I thought it could have been done way better. Um, I just don't like how they portrayed body. Everything in the movies about bodybuilding, they portray such in a negative way. And you know, bodybuilding has a lot of negativity in it, and there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on in a lot of bodybuilding, and you just kind of get used to the weirdness. It used to be a lot more weird when I was competing. This the stuff that went on, but the movie Magazine Dreams portrayed bodybuilding in a really depressing way. And the guy that played the bodybuilder obviously had a lot of serious mental issues, and he was obsessed with the other guy, the Michael Hearn. Then Michael Hearn like slept with the guy. Listen, Some people will take roles and all that. I would never take a role. I had when I did some auditions in New York, I had a chance to take this role before I turned it down. I'll tell you why. But I would never take a role that Mike O'Hearn did, sleeping with that guy. Just come on, dude. That was just like, yeah. I wasn't a fan of the movie. They could have portrayed bodybuilding in so many different ways. Like how they did the wrestler for wrestling. That was really done well. I have a lot of friends that are wrestlers, and that was done well. I think Magazine Dreams could have been made a lot better movie. I mean, does L-carnitine work? I diet well and work out. Went from 270 to 2. Yes, it does work. Yeah, L-carnitine does work. People got got obsessed with the injectable L-carnitine, and I think it's like, God's gift to everybody, and it's really not. And so you don't need injectable. Of course, you absorb more, but like we have L-carnitine in our supplements. That's all you need. A lot of people was like thinking like everything's injectable is better, right? So they thought it was doing like all this stuff that it really wasn't. What's the best way to help not gain as much weight when running MK677? So when you're running MK or our product Ceramax, which is pure MK, a lot of people gain water retention. People gain different amounts because you gain water inside the muscle, and some people gain a lot outside the muscle. So for me, I mostly keep it inside. It just makes my face a little fuller when I take Ceramax or MK. I'm fine with it. If I want a lean face, I can diet for 2 weeks and my face gets too lean. But you just deal with the water retention. And then usually after 3 to 4 weeks, it's going to subside some. And just make sure you're not doing too much sodium. Sodium is important for your muscles to contract, but some people overdo the sodium. So, all right, guys, a few more questions and I'm going to roll. At what point would the AI effects of EQ kick in? I want to start high test EQ. So EQ is not always going to help with your estrogen. Everybody reacts differently, like I said before, because I used to take test EQ and I would still have to take AI. My estrogen would still go through the roof and I would get the negative effects. So get blood work and see what your bloods are at. Yeah. Do we deliver to the UK? Yes, we do, but you can't order it on the site. Message the website, tell them what you want to order, your address, and they'll help you out with the shipping and payment and all that stuff. All right, I'll answer a few questions on YouTube. I'm going to get rolling, guys. What's your thoughts on the Dorian Yates philosophy? One said, nah, not a fan of it. And then Dorian really didn't do that. He portrayed it a lot more than he actually did, because I had a friend that trained with Dorian. Armon, do you remember when the magazines used to stress the anabolic window, like get your protein ASAP or you'll shrink? And I used to work at a supplement store, so I had to push it too. I mean, it is true. You should, after your workout, you should get carbs and protein in, and usually a certain time. Now, there might have been studies that try to debunk that, but I believe that 100%. As soon as you tear down your muscle, especially like, the carbs and the glycogen, I think it is important. So, yeah. Okay. What do you think about taking L-carnitine and AOD for under 18? I wouldn't start anything until you're over 18. You can take some natural supplements like creatine, EAAs, but wait to take anything else after 18. Yeah. Dumb question, dude. Well, it's really dumb. My wife is a doctor. I just block people on here. I don't even deal with stupid comments. It's not even funny to me. Coming off 18-week cycle and my bloods are good. How long should my cruise be? I'm not a whole fan of the whole blast and cruise, the whole concept of it. Like, you could come off and on a little bit of testosterone. You don't need to take anything else. And people that do usually make worse gains. And you got to understand, just your body adapts to what you're taking. So if you take those compounds longer, like I would only reserve certain compounds for contest prep. So when I would take those compounds for contest prep, my body would just soak it up and react so much better. So after you get off cycle, like I said, I used to come off everything completely for 2 or 3 months. Then when I got about age 26, 27, my testosterone would tank way too much. and then I would do a TRT dose when I was off. So that's all you should be doing. I don't think you should add Anavar or whatever else to it. Let your body rest and then get back on when it's time. All right. Good night, brother. Thanks, guys, on YouTube. Guys, check us out. Iron OGs, King Kamali and I, every Thursday, 3 p.m. Central or Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. Ask your questions. We'll be having a good guest. Ali on this week from Dubai. He's an insane bodybuilder. He can be like the next big thing. So check that out, guys. Peace out for my YouTube guys.